Hello, I'm your Kingdom Spiritual Transformational and Life Purpose Life Coach and Mentor Latricia Booker. And I'm popping in on you to tell you that they are hoping that you will mess it up. They are hoping that you will mess it up. And so, Kingdom people, first I want to say that you may hear some background noise, some beeping, and some talking. My alarm is going off. The smoke detector or the carbon monoxide alarm is going off, and they're supposed to be coming to fix it, but I have to keep moving on. I can't wait. Anybody that know me know I don't wait on nothing and nobody. I keep it moving. So the show must go on, King people, but I just wanted to alert you just in case you hear it. So that takes care of that. Moving right along. Kingdom people, they are hoping you would mess it up. There it is. And so, Kingdom people, I'm going to lead this message with 1 Kings 11, chapter 11, verses 1 through 13. But before I read that, I want to start off by saying this passage speaks about it's after King Solomon built the temple of the Lord. You know, King Solomon was a very wise king. He did honorable things for God. He built the temple. He ended up building a fleet of ships, trading ships. He built a huge force of chariots and horses. And, he was just really blessed and really prosperous. And he honored God. He initially started off honoring God. He was David's son. And so, yeah, God chose him to build the temple. He's the one that asked God for wisdom, when he became king. And, God said, he could have asked God anything that he wanted, and he asked God for wisdom. And God said, because you asked me for wisdom, I'm not only going to give you wisdom, but I'm going to bless you. I'm going to prosper you. I'm going to make you wealthy. And that is exactly what he did. So again, Solomon honored God. God blessed him. He became a very wealthy man, a very blessed and prosperous man. God prospered him. And so going into this chapter, 1 Kings 11, 1 through 13, he kind of went left. And so, Kingdom people, let me just say this. Before I read this, once I read it, you will see what I'm saying. But I was reading this, and God brought all this back to my attention. It's been a little bit since I read it, maybe about a month or so ago, something like that. Month ago or so. And when I got to this part, I was just like, oh man. So I'm like, all that he was doing real good, and then he messed it all up. And so God brought all this to my attention, and he said, that's what your enemies want you to do. They want you to mess it all up. And so let me go on and read this so you can get the gist of what I'm saying here. 1 Kings 11, verse 1 through 13 is pretty lengthy, so bear with me. King Solomon, however, loved many foreign women besides Pharaoh's daughter, Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites. They were from nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, you must not intermarry with them, but because they will surely turn your hearts after gods. Nevertheless, after their gods, Let me read that again. They were from nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, you must not intermarry with them because they will turn your hearts after their gods, little g gods. So, nevertheless, Solomon held fast to them in love. He had 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines, and his wives led him astray. As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. He followed Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. So Solomon did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He did not follow the Lord completely as David his father had done. On a hill east of Jerusalem, Solomon built a high place for Shamash, the detestable god of Moab, and for Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. He did the same for all his foreign wives who burned incense and offered sacrifices to their gods. The Lord became angry with Solomon because his heart had turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice. Although he had forbidden Solomon to follow other gods, Solomon did not keep the Lord's command. So the Lord said to Solomon, since this is your attitude and you have not kept my covenant and my decrees, which I commanded you, I will most certainly tear down the kingdom away from you and give it to one of your subordinates. Nevertheless, for the sake of David your father, I will not do it during your lifetime. I will tear it out of the land of your son. Yet I will not tear the whole kingdom from him, but will give him one tribe for the sake of David my servant, and for the sake of Jerusalem which I have chosen. Look at how good God is. He's still, he didn't tear the whole kingdom from him. He didn't do it during his time, King Solomon, for the sake of David, because David truly served him, and he had chose Jerusalem, so he didn't do it. He didn't take all the tribes away. He at least kept them with one. Ain't God good? But the whole thing came to people is that Solomon messed up. He did all that. He was, blessed, did all these honorable things for God, blessed the people, led the people in a way to honor God, and then he switched it up. He did not do what God told him to do. He forbade him to, intermarry, and he forbidden him to follow other gods. Duh. But Solomon did it anyway. And again, he was doing well. He was doing good. Then he messed it all up and angered God. And so God had to deal with him accordingly. And so God said to me, that's what your enemies want you to do. They want you to mess it up. See, kingdom people, you are on this trajectory. You're doing well. You're following God's lead. You're doing what he's telling you to do. You're walking into your purpose. You answered the call. You're following all of his instructions. You're allowing him to take you to your promised land. You're allowing him to take you to your wealthy place even. You're allowing him to move you into what it is that he's called you to do. And in all of that comes blessings, comes prosperity. And so, kingdom people, your enemies don't like it. They see what you're doing. They see where you're going to the extent that they do. And they want you to mess it up. And here's the thing, kingdom people. Many of them have done just that. See, what we have to understand, and I've said this here before, is that many of times your enemies didn't keep going if they were ever on the path of righteousness, is if they have ever attempted to follow God's lead and answer his call. Kingdom people, what has happened is, they didn't fully surrender, and you have fully surrendered, and they see that, and they know you fully surrendering will lead you right to where God is taking you, into what God has, right into what God has for you. And many of your enemies, they feel like you've risen beyond them, that you've risen above them. You've risen beyond their expectations, some of them, because, many of times you were in a lower place. When I say lower, I mean, it wasn't your time yet. You were growing, you were learning. Like I always say, you hadn't gotten to the place where you are now, where God is calling you, I'm going to say, to a higher level. And now he's moving you to step into things. You've surrendered more over to God. And so at one point when you were in your lowly state, maybe in a valley, if you will, you hadn't matured, as you have at this point, they didn't have really high expectations of you. Not that it's for them to have, but unfortunately this is what people do. And so because you have risen beyond those expectations, they feel in a certain kind of way. And they see again what you're doing. They see where you're going. They see if you're risen beyond their expectations. So they see you are answering God's call. You're moving towards prosperity. You're moving towards, your promised land. Whatever it is God has for you, whatever it is He's called you to do. And they're hoping that you will mess it up. They're hoping that you will do just like Solomon and, do something that God forbid you to do. Do something that's not okay, that will anger God, or not do something that God is telling you to do, which will prevent you from continuing on that forward movement that you're on, that you're in. And so, listen, kingdom people, the thing is that, you've done a lot of work. You've healed, you've gotten free, you've gotten delivered. And the thing with your enemies, most of them, for the most part, haven't done that. And many of them are not willing to do that. And you have. You've done the work. And we would even equate that to where Solomon, built the temple. He built the fleet of ships, of the trading ships, which brought him wealth. And so you have healed, you're getting deliverance, you're getting free from things, and that leads you into that wealthy place. Because you dropped off a lot of baggage, you let go of a lot of things that keeps you in bondage and keeps you from moving into the things of God. And so what has happened, kingdom people, your enemies were not willing and are not willing to do that healing, delivering, getting delivered and getting free. And see, they didn't want to give up the things of God that God requires them to, God required them to give up, to take them into the things of God. And they were hoping that you wouldn't do it, but you did. You are giving up things and you're moving forward. But again, kingdom people, they hoping that you will mess it up. They hoping that you will go left. They hoping that you will, lose your man, so to speak, and start serving other gods, even to the point where you start, serving the money, serving the wealth, serving status, which many worldly people actually do. And because that's the same thing as serving other gods. That's the same thing as, serving an idol. Because you start to put those things above God. So they're hoping that you would go left. They're hoping that you would do something to mess it up, even if it's, again, serving the, what God is doing, it not serving what God is doing in your life, but idolizing it. And because God forbids that. We are not to idolize what He gives us and what He blesses us with. We are to honor and serve Him because of it, but just because He's who He is. But anyhow, kingdom people, they're hoping that you go left. They're hoping that you mess it all up. They're hoping that you will knock yourself off of the trajectory that you're on. And I'm hearing this right now. They've already tried to knock you off that trajectory, and they realize they can't. So they're hoping that you will mess it up. They're hoping that you will mess it up yourself, because at this point, only you can. Nobody else can. It has been tried and proven that no one else can mess this up for you. Only you can. So kingdom people, they're hoping that you will mess all this up. See, kingdom people, they stay in darkness. They sit in darkness, and they want you to be in darkness with them. They were hoping that you, I want to say, would have stayed in darkness with them. But even if at one point you were in darkness, it was more in a way where you hadn't fully awakened. So you were never, maybe to some of you may have in some ways been in darkness. But the whole thing is you came out of that. And many of your enemies didn't. And I'm hearing none of them did. Because if they had come out of it, they wouldn't be an enemy. See, anybody that is an enemy to, I want to say to the child of God or children of God, but to anybody, really, when they proactively position themselves as an enemy to somebody, unless it's an enemy of Satan and his imps. But when you position yourself against a child of God as as an enemy of a child of God, you in darkness. And that's just that on that. It's no way around it. And so they were hoping that you would stay in darkness. But since you didn't, they hoping you will find your way back to that darkness. They are hoping that you will mess it up, kingdom people. And I'm just hearing just like they did for those who ever even attempted. Those who ever even tried to walk the path. Answer the call. Follow God's instruction. But they went left. They messed it all up. Kingdom people, they are hoping that you will mess it up. And that is all I have to say about that. So if you like this video and if it resonates with you, please just go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Then click on that subscribe button and subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. Thank you. Then make sure you go ahead and ring my bell. Ring my bell. Ring my bell so that you can receive a notification every time I upload a new video. Also, if there's any information you need to know about me, you can find all that right down below in the description box along with other helpful resources. Kingdom people, thank you all so very much for being here. Thank you for all your likes, subscribe, shares, all your comments and feedback, for all your financial contributions to my channel, for all the seeds that you sow into me and my ministry. Kingdom people, thank you. Now, kingdom people, I love you all so very much. I really don't want to leave you, but I do have to go right now. But I will be back to hold my kingdom people down. Now, kingdom people, above all else, let the Holy Spirit lead you in all things at all times. Kingdom people, we are untouchable, we are unmovable, we are unbreakable, and we are unstoppable. Kingdom people, keep growing, keep going, and go and be great. That is our time. This Jesus girl is out. Peace.